Welcome to Real Wisdom, where we dive into the real stories of remarkable women. Today, I'm excited to introduce Connie Riet. Connie's a living, breathing example of the power of embracing change, even when life throws you a curveball. And her journey to a simpler, more intentional life is one that so many of us can relate to. As the host of a really popular YouTube channel and certified mindfulness coach, Connie's helping women just like you and me find the courage to let go of what's weighing us down and make space for what truly matters. Her message will inspire anyone who's ever felt stuck or overwhelmed or like they've lost touch with what brings them joy. And if you're curious to hear more stories like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Hi, Connie. I'm
Hi.
so happy to have you with me today. I think your story and your journey of minimalism and mindfulness can be so important to women in midlife who are facing their own transitions and challenges. You describe yourself as an accidental minimalist, and that's really an interesting term. Can you take us back to that moment where things kind of changed for you and got you on the path that you're on today?
Thank you for inviting me, Holly. Yes, I am an accidental minimalist. We became minimalist before that term really even existed in mainstream, I guess, before it was like coined a phrase. And it happened in 2008 during the recession. My husband actually was working in mortgages at the time. And then there was the housing crash. And so we were ill prepared. We had not set ourselves up for financial success. We had done the exact opposite. We were living above our means already. And didn't have much savings. And so when my husband lost his job, we went to dire straits within like a month. And it was the house is on fire, like sell everything. And so as we went through the quick process of selling literally everything but our children to pay bills, and we had to downsize, and it was extremely eye-opening and very difficult to have that realization of how much I had wrapped my identity in the things that I owned. And it was really hard, and how I had prioritized stuff over stability. And once it took me like a couple years to process. It's not like I had this realization. It's not like I had this realization. I was like heartbroken and devastated for the first several months of this whole process. But as I came about, I really was able to tune into what I wanted my life to be, and who I was as a person if I wasn't my stuff anymore, because that was stripped away. And so it was really the best thing that ever happened, I think, to us. It was horrible at the time, but it was one of the best things that could have ever happened. And then once we had that, then we just stayed minimalist. We just stuffed. When you remove that meaning of stuff around your life, you don't really see a need to purchase a lot,
Right. So I think a lot of us can relate to what you went through. That was a very challenging time for so many of us. And I think it's great that you just sound so at peace with how that turned out. And it's a wonderful tale to see that you and your husband became stronger because of that.
Yeah, we really did. And, if you want to know what a marriage what kind of grit your marriage has. Put it through the, the ringer on some financial issues, and you'll find out pretty quick. So we're fortunate that we have a really strong, healthy marriage, and it can withstand a little bit of pressure.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's for sure. You know, I think also the story that I get from you is that it's never too late for us to reinvent ourselves. And especially for women, we feel that that gets harder and harder. But is there any message or approach that you've taken that maybe other women can use to move themselves forward?
Yes. I kind of feel like I'm a master at reinventing myself. I've had many careers and lived many different lifestyles, and I really embrace that. But when my children, my two oldest children, left home at the same month, because my middle child is a ballerina, so she left early, and then my son graduated high school, and I went through a total like mom meltdown where I was like, oh my gosh, I've just been mom, and I still had one left, but it was so shocking that it really made me evaluate again, like, okay, now I'm not just mom. This is my chance to rediscover who Connie is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's frightening, actually, because you kind of start with, well, who am I? Like I was so absorbed for 20 years in children. And then all of a sudden I'm not that absorbed in that activity anymore, that 20 years is a long time. You kind of forget who you are, or if there's any part of the same person there. So I think my advice that I usually give clients is, let's start by finding out who you are and asking yourself some pretty basic self-inquiry questions like, what do I like? Most people don't know the answer to that. Most women, especially women, they know what their husband's like, their best friend likes, their mom, their mother-in-law, their children. They know what everyone else likes around them, but we tend to put ourselves last. And so starting with questions like, what do I like? What don't I like? What is my ideal life? What would that look like to me? And that is a challenging one, I think, also. And so if you sit down and you kind of get stuck on the, what is my ideal life? And just, it's like a blank and nothing comes up. Sometimes it's easier to ask yourself, well, what don't I want in my future life? And then work your way back. So if I don't want to have a mountain of debt, then that would mean I want my ideal life to look like I want to be financially free and I want to be debt free. So kind of working your way back is a good way to come up with that. And then you kind of have to just, once you identify it, start making those baby steps toward what that looks like for you. It doesn't have to be big. Like, I know I live kind of a crazy, unorthodox life, so I understand that this is not everyone's cup of tea. And I haven't always lived, a nomadic life. But just the little things, tiny, tiny, tiny things, tiny steps is how you actually get the change that you're looking for in your life. And embrace it. Embrace it. Man, if you're only 50 and you live to 90, you're, what you said, midlife. Life is not over. It's just a new chapter. And now you get to decide yet again, what do you want?
I think that empty nest throws a lot of us really into a tailspin because our identities are so tied up in our children. And you're right, you know what everybody else likes. And sometimes it's even something goofy as what you like on your pizza. Because, right, you've been ordering cheese for 20 years because nobody else would eat anything green. I think women feel like we have to have it all figured out. And it sounds like we don't. Like we have time to explore other options.
Yeah, and this is something else that I always find very interesting is life is, if nothing, it's about change. There is only one constant in life, and that is change. And once you embrace that and really welcome that into your own life, it's not so scary. None of us are who we thought we were going to be when we were 16 years old. None of us are who we were when we were 16 years old and probably wouldn't want to be. And that's beautiful. And so instead of kind of holding on to oh, but when my kids were all little, then life was wonderful. Turn the page and embrace, but now my kids are grown and life is wonderful.
It's a whole new set of experiences and opportunities. Yeah, but it's that looking back, that's where a lot of us tend to get stuck and reminiscing about those times. There's a concept that I think you embrace, and it's a big theme on your YouTube channel, and that's about slow living. And I'm so interested in that. And I think I know what it means. But can you explain that to anybody who's watching this?
Yeah, slow living is pretty much the opposite of what modern society tells us what we should be doing. So modern society is very, go, 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 be busy, be so busy, always striving for more, better, bigger, faster, instead of doing the opposite, which is slowing down, literally slowing down. And I have not always been a member of the Slow Living Club. When my kids were growing up, I was so busy, and even though we were maxed out, our whole family was maxed out at activities and obligations and school and work, I still added more. I still wanted my kids to do more too. Like I was not a good advocate for slow living. And I kind of wore I'm so busy as like a badge of honor. Somewhere in my mind, I picked up that to be productive member of society, you must be frantically busy. And my value was in that. And because if you're not busy, then you must be lazy is another one I picked up. I don't know where along the way. And all I was just busy. I was just busy and not present. And the things that really mattered because I was so busy, like time with my children, just time, not time in the kitchen doing homework, but just actually being present with each other, I missed out on because I was so busy being busy.
Yeah, and consumed with getting them to the next event or...
Yes. Like I had I know moms out there can relate to this, but I had a full middle console of snacks and treats because we lived in our car so much. And I'd restock it every night. Yeah. Now I look back and I'm like, oh, craziness. And so slow living is the opposite of that. And I know that everyone feels the sense of, but how can I slow down if I have a to-do list 5 pages long? And I think that the first thing is look at your to-do list and start crossing things off that don't really matter. How much time and energy do we give things that really are not that important? And then making things like being present and slowing down and self-care and relationships the priority. Make the things that are actually important at the top of the list and slow down. And slow living doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm not going to do anything for 3 days straight, right? It's not just like vacation. I wish it was vacation. But it's more about incorporating this idea of even micro, tiny 5-minute breaks of breathing, having a cup of tea and looking out your window or sitting on your porch. Like, when was the last time many of us did that? Just literally making a cup of tea, knowing that you're not putting it in a to-go mug into the car. You're not going to sip on it while you're on the computer doing work, but you're going to enjoy until the cup of tea is gone, maybe 5 minutes. You're going to sit there and enjoy it.
I can already feel the anxiety. And I'm thinking, okay, but while I'm having the tea, can I be taking
Do this
notes?
and that.
Can I be reading a book? Is there something else? Oh, that's funny. That's interesting because I get what you're saying, but I'm already thinking of when is that 5 minutes gonna be? And
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're one of these people that have like a very busy schedule of things like work and kids and things that you can't move around, you have to be very purposeful and carve out time, whether it's waking up 15 minutes early in the morning or looking at your schedule and going, okay, I have a lunch break that's 45 minutes long. I'm going to take 5 minutes and just deep breathe in my car. Or, instead of kind of zoning out on Netflix at night, right? Instead of that, do a little self-care. Go for a walk, do something you enjoy, pick up a new hobby. Again,
Right.
going back to the what do I like?
yes, but start incorporating a little bit of that in your life.
Yeah, if you come up with, I don't know what I like, I have no hobbies because my whole world's been in children for 20 years, try some things out. Doesn't have to cost a lot of money to, go to the craft store and pick up some cheap watercolors and just see if you do enjoy it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't.
Right. Have you gotten your family to embrace slow living?
Yes and no. So my husband's on board. He already runs at a way slower vibration than me. So that's easy for him. My son who lives in Costa Rica, he is very busy, but he really prioritizes the things he enjoys, like surfing, and he's very present with his boys.
Okay.
So he's good at that. Like, yeah, he has a busy life, but he's really good of like unplugging and just being instead of just doing. My youngest daughter also knows the value of like self-care and slowing down, even though she's also very busy right now in her life. My middle daughter, who is a professional ballerina in Europe, she has no interest in being a minimalist. She has no interest in slowing down. And that's okay. And this is another thing, like, it's okay. Not everyone has to do the same thing in the same way. It's really about just honoring yourself. She is learning now, the ballerina, she's learning that if she continues to run at 200 miles an hour, she gets sick, she gets burned out. And, like all of us, her mental health suffers, her physical health suffers. And so then she has no choice but to slow down, which happens to all of us. If we keep going at like this crazy pace and our stress and anxiety is out the roof and it never comes down, we're going to get sick. We're going to be stressed out, and that affects our health. And eventually our bodies will shut down, and then it will just be too much. And that's burnout.
I'm glad you mentioned that, though, because I think it's your body's way of telling you, when you didn't make that choice to do it for yourself, our bodies are going to tell us that now is the time that it's taking over. And you get sick, and I hear from a lot of women in the community just how much that affects their lives when they just keep going. And then it gets to the point where it just feels like everything falls apart and they're sick and they don't feel good and they just really can't seem to get themselves back on track. And I think that's where the self-care is so very important. And I hate when the word is just thrown around as if it's all about spa days or taking vacations. Like, you need to incorporate that in your daily life.
Yeah. You touched on two things that I think are really important. The first one is our bodies force us to shut down. And then you say, but we can't get back up. And that instead of looking at why our bodies are shutting down and trying to change the behavior that caused us to shut down, we want to just, okay, I'm not sick today, I don't have a fever, so let's get back at it because now I'm behind, so I got to work double time to catch up. And it's this vicious cycle. And you're right, self-care it's a buzzword, it's thrown around, it's, bubble baths and that pampering, it can be that too. But self-care is more than that. It's taking care of yourself, which means things like paying your bills so that you don't have this anxiety that's kind of in the back of your mind about, oh, I need to do this, or did I pay that? It's things like eating healthy, taking time to eat, which is another one. Enjoying what you're actually,
Right.
ring your body with. That's also self-care. And, self-care is yes, also taking time to just relax, have a breath, have 10 breaths. Is also self-care. It'd be great if we could all just do spa days, but
Right. Life is not like that.
that's not always realistic for every day.
But you made a really good point, though, about when you're concerned about other things, such as, paying your bills, and you're thinking, did I do this? Did I mail it? And that occupies that space in your life that could be filled with something a little more positive. Do you feel that minimalism has sort of helped you on that self-care journey?
Yeah, well, minimalism from the perspective of physical possessions. Each physical possession that we own takes up our mental capacity because, one, it's visual, right? So our brain has to register everything, but also you have to buy it, clean it, fix it, move it, store it, and then discard it. You're done with it. And so it takes up a lot of mental space. But so I get asked a lot, like, what does mindfulness have anything to do with minimalism? Where's that connection? And it's the mindfulness is just being aware. So if you're aware of your possessions and how they're affecting aspects of your life, right? Whether it's creating more anxiety, taking up mental space, sucking up your money, whatever it is, just being aware of that and paring it down. You can also transfer that mindfulness and awareness in your life to your time. If you look at time like possessions, I always start with possessions because it's easy, it's tangible. But then you look at time and you're like, where am I putting my time and my effort every day that doesn't serve me? Am I holding on to something my mother said in 1993? Am I hanging on to things that I feel obligated to do, but really shouldn't be doing? Is it a guilt thing? And so if you kind of look at bringing that awareness and mindfulness to your time, your energy, your self-care, your possessions, just kind of across the board, it can be very freeing and liberating, and it frees up mental space, energy. and money.
So it's like emotional clutter and then physical clutter
Yeah.
in your life.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I think there's a lot of us, and I'm very much guilty of this, is that I place a lot of emotions on physical items because they remind you of, like we were talking about before, a different time in your life. And whether it's things that belong to the kids or things that belong to my mom, and you can't carry those with you your entire life, right? There's going to be a point in time where, my husband and I maybe are going to move, or you'd like to travel more and you're going to downsize. How did you, I mean, honestly, how did you go through things and decide what you wanted to bring with you and what needed to go?
Yeah, so my minimalist journey has had many stages. So the first stage was 2008, right? But I mean, let's face it, I still had 3 kids at home. We still had 2 cars, like we still had a lot of stuff. And then when my 2 older kids left home and I had my mom meltdown, that's when I really jumped into like, let's embrace change. And I had this great idea. I was like, oh my gosh, let's sell everything or almost everything and buy an RV and travel so that I can follow my babies wherever they go. They didn't like that idea so much,
Yeah.
but I still did it. And so at that point, we still had a storage unit.
Okay.
And so I still had all of my kids' keepsakes and, their own keepsakes I still was storing for them. So if you're a parent of older kids, I know you do this too,
Yes.
because we all do. I'll store my stuff and your stuff and my parents' stuff and my grandparents. Anyways, so we still had a fairly large storage unit of our stuff, right? Even though we were minimalists, we still kept so much, but that was like kind of the first shedding of, okay, kids, we're not going to store 4 boxes of keepsake for you. So you got to pare it down to 2, I mean, it kind of went like that. And we started coming up with the saying of, does it make the cut?
Okay.
And that just means if you have one box that you're like, okay, this is going to be the box size of the keepsakes, of all the sentimental items, what makes the cut in that box? And it really does come down to what's important, what's not so important. And again, I know there's a lot of minimalists who are like, oh, you need to have 33 items or whatever.
Right.
I am not that. I am like, it's about your journey, your awareness, your mindfulness, and your attachment to things is going to be so much different than anyone else's. And so it's really important to honor that, who you actually are, and also where you're at in your life. Again, my minimalist journey has taken many different steps. And so, if I had at 2008 gotten rid of everything like I have now, I mean, I was already like reeling just from like downsizing.
Yes.
It would not have been a good time. But when we, my husband and I decided to now not keep a storage unit and get rid of literally everything we had, I thought it would be pretty easy because I only had one box at this point. Like I pared down so many times that that's all I had left. And it was still pretty hard. And I took pictures of a lot of things and I just gave it a hug and was like, sent it on its way.
Was there one thing that was harder than most?
Yes, there was. I don't know if some of my older videos have, whenever I would cook or bake, because I love to bake, I had these huge hand-blown glass jars that were from
yes,
my great-great. Those were difficult. And before I got rid of like my last stuff, I did send the memo out to all 3 kids, like, hey, do you want any of this stuff? And of course my son was like, I'm good.
Now's your chance.
Typical boy. He's like, I'm fine. And then my daughters wanted a few things, and both of them wanted the jars. And so I split them because I had 2. I sent one to one went to Germany. And because I was like, at least they're going, sending them along to future generations and stuff. And the one going to Germany broke. But there you go.
But it had a journey.
It did have a journey. It was going back to Europe. So it did have its journey. And it was kind of like that. It was like that feeling that you just had where you go, oh, but then that's all.
Yeah. Right. So what are you going to do? That's something that's already taken place.
Yeah. But it's kind of like, if you had, I think it's important to remember that your memories are not in your things. Your memories are in your heart.
Yeah.
That's where the memories are anyways. And if your house caught on fire or your storage unit caught on fire, does that mean that your memories and these feelings go away?
No,
they're still there. But again, everyone should honor where they're at right now and really self-inquiry. Why do I feel like I want to give this away? Why do I feel like I don't want to give this away? And be really honest with yourself. And if there's, I find it useful to do when you're going decluttering, especially sentimental items, to have like 3 piles. One pile is like the keeping pile. I love it, I need it, or it improves my life. Okay, that goes in the keep pile. And then you have I really don't even know why I have this. I don't even know what this is from. And you easily can discard. And then you have the maybe pile. And if you're going through sentimental items and you're like, I just don't know if I can let this go yet, put it in a box, label it the maybe, and put it in your garage. And if you don't think about it in a year, it can probably go. Because the sentimental items, if they are that important to you, they should probably be on display somewhere in your home where you can see them. If they're in a box and you only open that box once every 10 years, it probably doesn't really mean that much to you. If grandma's vase means that much to you, grandma's vase should be displayed where you can see it and appreciate it.
Yes, exactly. Use these items if they're taking up all this space in your head and you think about them and you think you have to save them, put them to good use.
Yeah, put it to good use.
There's one more thing, and especially at this time of year with all the kids going back to school and or going off to college and moving on. You mentioned something about wanting to follow your babies. And I think so many moms can relate to that. And now your children are spread out all over the place.
And what did I do? Shoot. I picked up and I'm following my babies.
How else would you have done that? Or if you couldn't do that, how would you have wanted to handle that and stay connected with them?
I mean, we couldn't for a long time because we still had our youngest, and she really wanted to have like a traditional high school experience.
Okay.
So then it's down to, FaceTime calls, phone calls, shipping gifts, and the, once a year weekly trip, week-long trip. So yeah, but I think that it also comes down to asking yourself what's most important in your life. A house was not that important to me. The ability to see my kids and really drop into their lives, because we stay near them for like a month or 2 at a time. And that's what was most important. So that's just what we did.
It does sound like fun, though. It really does.
It's an adventure. Sometimes not fun. Well, I'm an adventurer, nonetheless.
Um, so I love how you're so comfortable sharing your story and putting yourself out there, whether it's on your YouTube channel and social media. I think there's so many women who feel that they have a story to tell, but it's really intimidating and it's sometimes kind of scary. Do you have some words of wisdom that you could share on how to just like let it go, just embrace this new part of your life and let people know who you are?
Yeah, it is scary. It's scary to put yourself out there because, I mean, Holly, you put yourself out. That means that you are opening yourself up to criticism. And I think I feel like women especially want to build walls around our hearts because we don't want to be criticized, because then that really messes with how we view ourselves, our self-esteem. And so I think if you choose to do it, and I'm old, I'm 50. Like, I'm not a 20-year-old YouTuber,
Right.
I'm not. And I think it's important to just really have enough self-love and self-compassion for yourself to go, there's gonna be haters, and it is hard. But again, do I really want it? Is it important to me? Why do I want it? Why is it important? And your why will be bigger than the worries. And if it's not, if your why is not bigger than the worry and the worry is bigger than the why, then it's probably don't do that. Probably don't do that. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I mean, I'd like to do this, but what will I do if someone gives me a mean comment or this and that? How will I take it? And you're just so consumed with the fear, then you're probably not in a place yet to embark on that journey. And I don't think it comes down to having thick skin. Like, I am not thick-skinned. I'm
not.
no. I used to be before my brain injury, but now I'm kind of a baby. So I'm an emotional baby. I really am. And I cry very easily. And it's not about having thick skin. I think it's just, I'm like, I feel very compelled to be a voice of support and inspiration. And I know I open myself up to other people's opinions of me, and that's just what they are. Other people's opinions. That's their thing. It's not my thing. And they can think anything they want. That's their thing. If they don't like what I say, okay. That's okay. You don't have to. And so I think for women who are like, ooh, I don't know if I can put myself out there. And it could not be like a social media. It could be going to a party. It could be doing an event that you've never done before. It could be starting a new job. It could be making a new friend. It could be trying yoga for the first time. It could be anything. Asking yourself, well, what's my why? Why do I want to do that? And is it important for me? And if it is, then it's okay.
I loved what you said about how did you say the why being bigger than the worry?
Yeah.
That's really, because I think well, at least I do. I build things up in my head and I make the problem or the concern bigger than it has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't always focus on the why part.
Yeah, focus on the why. And if that why is big enough, then okay, you're married, right, Holly?
Yes.
All right. So
Long time.
a long time. Good for you. So when you wanted to marry your husband, did you know that everything was going to just work out, rainbows and unicorns, or did you have some concerns that, oh my gosh, what? I'm getting married.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. But also, there was the excitement of sharing a life and what it was going to be, that the unknown was more exciting than the all the reasons why I was afraid or nervous, or because you're like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to live our lives together. And yeah, there's going to be problems. Absolutely. But you're hoping that your relationship can grow together and you
Yeah.
could be stronger as a unit.
Yeah. And why? What was the why? Why did you marry? What's his name?
Jess,
Why'd you marry Jeff?
because I was in love. And, we were young, and people could say that we were young and stupid. We started a family very early, and there wasn't always a lot of support from those around us. But we're like, why can't we do this? I guess is,
Yeah.
and we did. And we raised a family together, and we've been married for 38 years, and we have 2 boys. And so our why became much stronger the longer
Yeah.
we were together.
Yeah. The why is bigger than the worry.
Yeah. I mean, because you're always going to worry in relationships and in growing a
Right.
family, you're always going to worry.
Yeah. And worry is all about the future, the unknown, but none of us have a crystal ball and none of us know how anything's going to go from literally 1 hour to the next of our lives. And so embrace the mystery. And if we don't know how things are going to go, why worry about it? Just assume the good. If we're going to assume something and we're going to put all of our mental energy and emotional energy into worrying about the unknown, why not just assume the unknown is going to be fantastic?
Right? Yeah.
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 It's the same thing, only one side makes you happy and the other side makes you really stressed out. So,
Yeah. I want to get away from the stressed out side. It's like, that's not fun anymore.
yeah, let's assume it's all going to work out. And if
Yes.
it doesn't, cute.
Well, I want to shift gears for just a minute, because I know a lot about you from, your channel and social media and everything. But I'm going to ask you a question, because especially given where you are in your life and you move around a lot, but as a woman, we always carry a bag around with us, a small purse or something. What are 3 things that you have to have in your bag, and what's the story behind them?
Okay, so my purses actually get smaller and smaller. Right now, it's like, oh, I'd grab it, but it's over there. But it's tiny. It's like this big. It's tiny. The 3 things I have to keep in there. I have to keep my tiny wallet. That's number one. Um, I have to keep Burt's Bees lip gloss. I don't wear lipstick, but I do wear lip gloss. Burt's Bees. So I have to have that in there. Um, the other thing that I always have to have in there, oh, glasses. I don't see far away very well, so it's not good if I leave the house without my glasses. Like I could even leave the house probably without a cell phone, but
Yeah, so could I. But yeah, same thing, glasses.
I have to be able to see.
I have to say this though. I think Burt's Bees should be a sponsor of my show, because every woman I ask that question to, the one thing that's in there is Burt's Bees.
That's so funny.
Right? Isn't it? And it's
That
the same
is.
reason, like they don't wear a lot of makeup or something, but they love the little color that it gives them. And so I just, when you said it, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But it's funny.
That is hilarious. That is really funny.
Okay, one more. Digging a little deeper from some of your old posts. I know that you learned to play the ukulele.
I'm working on it.
You're working on it? Is that still something
Yes.
that you're learning to do?
Yes, the little uke comes with us in our suitcase, and we do have it sitting right over there, actually. And this is again one of these things that when I was trying to discover who Connie was now, I was like, I want to do things that I enjoy. I want to continue learning and growing as a person, and do some things that are just fun. they're not about being productive. It's not about everyone else's needs. It's not even a need. It's just for fun. And so I started learning the ukulele, and I'm not good at it. I don't care. I still like it.
I love that. When I saw that, I'm like, that's perfect because I think we always feel there has to be a means to the end. I have to do this thing and then it's going to lead to here. There's not always that just pleasure in playing the ukulele.
Yeah, I actually, my daughter was in Greece this summer for a week, and she sent me a picture of this man painting, and he had this cutest little travel painting kit that was like micro mini, and I was like, oh my gosh! So I looked it up, found it, got it, and I am so looking forward to just trying my hand at painting next. This is my new thing. Um, and I've never painted ever a day in my life, but I'm like, that seems like fun to me. So,
Right?
well,
And something that you could, capture a moment somewhere or yeah, I love it.
yeah. So just again, life is fun. Life is fun if we open ourselves up to just trying new things and yeah, not doing it to be an expert.
No.
No, just doing it because that's fun. Let's
Hmm.
try that.
And being able now to Google and order anything from anywhere is just makes life that much better.
Yeah. I know it
Right.
showed up. Oh my gosh, that's in the other room. Otherwise, I'd go grab it for you. But it's the cutest thing. And I asked my husband, I'm like, look what I want to find this. And then I found it. I go, do you want to get one too? And then we can put there in Europe or whatever and do our little painting. He'll do better than me because he's an artist already.
Oh,
And he goes, yeah, that'd be great. And it showed up and it's so darling. It's like the cutest little mini thing. Oh, so excited.
well, I hope maybe you post a picture
Oh,
or
it's going to
two
be in
when you
future videos.
yes.
I guarantee it will be. Too cute not to be.
Well, I just want to say thank you. This was just such a lovely conversation. And you have such a nice outlook and so positive. And I think it could really mean a lot to a lot of different women. What's the best way to connect with you? And if they want to know more about you and follow along on your journey, where can we
Mhm.
find Connie?
So you can find all of my videos on YouTube under Connie Riet, Riet. And then you can also go to my website, connieriet.com. And I do live classes every week. Anyone can come. You just have to sign up. It's an annual $20 membership, so not too pricey. And yeah, I'd love to always have new people show up and come, and you can ask me questions on anything. I'm a very open book, so yeah.
Well, I'll definitely send people in your direction. And again, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for joining us on Real Wisdom. If you're inspired by stories like this and want to be part of a community that celebrates the wisdom of women, visit joinempart.com and become a part of our conversation. And don't forget to subscribe for even more real wisdom. Until next time, keep embracing your story.